Hey guys, and welcome to Connect Group Week 3. Today we're talking about Bible, how to apply it. Now, when I was a kid, I don't know, probably 6, 7, 8 years old, one of my two older sisters went to the beach with some of her friends. And I don't know what beach they went to, and I don't know how long she stayed. I guess when you're the younger brother, you just don't get that information, or you really just don't care. But I do remember this, when she came home from that beach trip, and I assume that she came home relatively earlier than she was supposed to, she was burnt. And I'm talking about lobster red, sunburnt to a crisp. And I remember she laid in the middle of the living room floor on this thin sheet for days in excruciating pain. I know that all of the aloe in the world couldn't have touched the pain that she was in. And I just remember her laying there in agony because she was so miserable and so burnt. Maybe you, like I have experienced a little sunburn in our day, and we know the pain of that sunburn and how it feels. After she came home and went through all of that, years later, I remember thinking to myself, why didn't she apply sunblock? Why didn't she have sunscreen on? Did she just go out to the beach and maybe that it just completely escaped her mind that she was at the beach and that she needed to apply sunscreen. I mean, she was probably 11, 12, 13, maybe right there at the 13 years of age. And so my point is, she knew better. She knew that she should have sunblock on if she was going to be out in the sun. Or maybe what happened was she gets so busy with the activities of being at the beach that she just completely forgot to put the sunblock on. Maybe she had her eye on a little fella out there at the beach, and that's why she was going, and she forgot to put sunblock on because of whatever his name was. Maybe she left the sunblock in whoever's car she was riding in, and she was too embarrassed. She was at that time frame that you don't want to ask. You're kind of embarrassed that you forgot something. She didn't want to ask them to go back to the car and get the sunblock. Maybe that was the reason. Or maybe she did apply sunblock, and a couple of hours later, as prescribed, she forgot to reapply sunblock. Or maybe the sun was just so intense that day that it didn't matter if you took a paint roller and painted the sunblock on, you were going to get burnt. Whatever the reason, she was absolutely in excruciating pain, and she was burnt. I think you probably see where I'm headed today with this conversation. We're talking about applying what we've read and what we've studied in our Bibles and making sure that it's not just a head knowledge, but that we are actually applying it to our lives. And so as we move through today's study, I want you to know how to apply what you read in the Bible. Applying the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding that we get from our Bible can be our sunscreen. We need to make sure that we apply it as prescribed and that we reapply it regularly. This week we're going to talk about application, how to apply it. We're going to talk about some verses that are easy for us to apply, and we're going to talk about some verses that are not so easy for us to apply. And we're going to talk about some practical methods of applying God's Word, and we're going to share with one another what works for us personally and what doesn't work for us personally. Finally, we're going to talk about benefits, and we're going to talk about consequences. So if you're ready, leaders, just before we get started today, we're going to encourage you to take time to pray if you guys haven't prayed together as a group, and pray specifically about applying God's Word to your life, that He would open our eyes to do that. So if you're ready, leaders, I want you to dive in, and don't forget your sunblock, your sunglasses, and don't forget your towel. And we will see you next week for the wrap up of this series called Bible How To.